Would like to clear up something that I talked about yesterday, and it's my fault I wasn't as clear as I should have been talking about this um, allegation that I've made that the tip of South America and the Antarctic Peninsula were, in the recent past, connected. They were one solid landmass, and that a 1707 earthquake in Japan set this wall of water that caused the separation. The allegation I was trying to make was this, is not that that happened and then the next day there was this 500-mile gap between the tip of South America and Antarctica. What I was trying to say was that the wall of water cut open fissures. And as we know, when you have higher water on one side and lower on the other, you only need a tiny trickle to get started. And over time, and it doesn't take a lot of time, water acts like a knife. It cuts straight down. And there's videos all over YouTube showing this where they open up rivers to the ocean and they just take their foot and they just open up a tiny little break. If you want to look for something that's really cool, it's called the Minion, Minion dam burst. This guy's got 15 million views, and he just takes his foot and kicks away a little piece of sand, and in a matter of 3 minutes, it goes from that size, the size of a man's foot, to 15 feet wide and 5 to 6 feet deep, and would wash away any human being in 3 minutes. So that's what I was trying to say. That's what the allegation I was trying to make, is that it just caused breaks where there weren't before, and the water over 100, 200 years slowly began to push and separate its way out and cut down and then create this crescent shape of islands. So anyway, that's the point I wanted to make. Now, I have some more evidence for that being the case, and before we leave this map, I want to show something. Do you see this area off the coast of Argentina up here, that the sea is very shallow compared to the ocean over here? We also see that over here. This is called the Weddell, Weddellc. If this was connected, this would have been a very calm part of the ocean, of the Atlantic Ocean. It would have been kind of an eddy. It would have been out of the current. And there would have been a lot of buildup of silt on the seafloor, which means that when a heavy current came through, it would have just cut through super deep like a knife. And the reason I say that is that there's a description made in an old map that we were using, this one talking about Magallanica, and this tiny channel called the Fretum Magellanicum. This area here, this bay, would have been a safe haven. It would have been a harbor. There would have been no huge currents here. But when you look over here, down around what we would call, say, the 3 o'clock region, because of course up here this is 12 o'clock, you see a word, Psittacorum regio. Now, I'll be very honest, I had no idea what that word meant, so I looked it up. Psittacorum is not that. Hold on. This is Psittacorum. It's a tropical plant. Now, why would there have been enough of these tropical plants growing in Antarctica in the 1500s if it was all just wind, ice, rock, and snow at the time? And that map is from the 1500s. This is what Psittacorum is. And when the man who made the map had a choice of anything he could have written ice, he could have written wind, snow, rock, he wrote Psittacorum. And real quick on the wiki for that, Heliconia psittacorum, parrot's beak, parakeet flower, parrot's flower, parrot's plantain, false bird of paradise, is a perennial herb native to the Caribbean and South America. It is considered native to French Guiana, which is way up by Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, Venezuela, Colombia, Bolivia, Brazil. Paraguay seems to be the farthest south they've reported it. Panama and Trinidad and Tobago. Naturalized in Gambia, Thailand. The whole point here is that it's native to the Caribbean. to that type of environment. So why would we find the description Psittacorum regio in the 3 o'clock region of Antarctica? It would make sense because the entire climate would change without what we call the quote-unquote roaring 40s. And what I mean by that is this entire region around Antarctica, and I had a image of it before I'd like to show, there are currents now that circle this, that make these seas incredibly difficult to navigate. My allegation is that it wasn't always so, that prior to, I'd say, 1700, 1600, that wasn't the case. And that would make sense because those ancient ships couldn't have handled it. The ships we make today can barely handle it. They wouldn't have explored this region in depth like they did at the time if those currents were that bad. That's why I honestly do believe that this breakthrough, this gap, this huge 900-kilometer gap, is not something that happened thousands and thousands or millions of years ago. That it happened in the late 1600s, 1700s. And that wall of water just exacerbated a problem and cut something open that it wouldn't have taken thousands of years to do this. Because we can see what water does just in a matter of, if you have the force of an ocean, over a matter of 2 to 5 years, you could open up a giant passage, big enough for a ship easily. This was not a heavily populated region in the 16 and 1700s, so there probably wouldn't be written records of this. That survived anyway. But something else I wanted to show, and it kind of goes with that picture that I showed earlier. Anyone who lives in the South knows what this is. You can go out to just about any body of water at night and shine a light, and sure enough, you'll see the eye shine of some type of caiman, alligator, something. You know, it's not uncommon. They are fairly dangerous creatures if you poke the bear, so to speak. But usually, they will leave you alone. Now, if you're dumb enough to go swimming at night in a swamp, then, you know, that's just the Darwin Award. But they come in different sizes. This particular one would, if not handled properly, earn you a trip to the ER. Maybe lose a finger. Not likely, but stitches in a story for sure. This one would, and this is a picture actually from Tennessee, would probably easily cost you a foot or an arm, and depending on where it was, maybe your life. This one, they wouldn't find you. You would just be gone, and there would be very little left of you to be found. But point being is that most of the time, these animals are A, unmistakable, B, during the day, docile. Honestly, if you see one in the early morning, you could walk over and kick it, to be very truthful. They just, in the morning, they're cooled down too much from the night. In fact, there was a picture, and I wish I would have brought it up, darn it. It was from a place called Palatka, Florida, and it was from, I think, 2015 or 16. It shows a raccoon standing on the back of a head of an alligator on its rear legs, looking out over a lake in the morning. And even animals realize that early morning these things are pretty docile. Now, why do I show this? I found something in Antarctica I would like to share with you that looks like it might be a cousin of this. Now, what we always know is that there is this eye shine, even in the shadow. And I know this is a blurry picture, but if you look at the upper jaw here, the lower jaw here, you can see the eye shine here. And what makes this strange is that it looks like there's almost some type of a human figure right here that would be either looking at it or maybe taking a picture of it. I don't know. But I do know what that shape is. Anybody who lives in the South would recognize this shape immediately, because you can go out every night and see them. It's unmistakable. And there was one other thing I wanted to show, but actually I'm going to save it for the next video. It was, we had talked about this thing called it was from a TV show. They described it as a Goa'uld, and the mistake was basically it's like a serpent, and it's got these pincers on the front and eyes. I think I found a skeleton of one. I had shown what I thought was a live one surfacing near an oil slick in another video that we had talked about, but I think I found in the ice an actual skeleton of one. And we'll show that in the next video, because I want to be able to put that skeleton up next to the actual living one so that people can have all the information and make up their own minds, which is what I do. This is, Google Earth Pro. You can download it on even the most basic laptop, and you can go down there and you can surf it for yourself and take the coordinates I give. You never have to take my word for it. Never. Never. You can always go to the coordinates that I show and make up your own mind. And that's what we've kind of built the channel on here. And we're going to stick with that. So anyway, open source intelligence is a thing. And you can use it if you know how to uncover things that you wouldn't normally see. But this map has shown so much. Terra del Fuego being part of this Magallanica, or as they normally pronounce it, I guess Magellanica. I think that's just a improper pronunciation. Fretum Magellanicum over here, and then Psittacorum regio shows that clearly there was plant life that is native to the Caribbean in Antarctica in 1500. I don't know how anyone else could then make the allegation that Antarctica has been covered with ice for tens of thousands of years. If someone put this on a map, why would they do that? But I will leave it there. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.